Good afternoon. I'm going to go ahead and begin talking and as people come in, because I know we're already behind in schedule. My name is Dr. Donnie Cook. I'm the Associate Vice President for Student Development and Director of the Counseling Center. And presenting with me is some that many of you may have already heard from earlier in your process of visiting Loyola, Dr. Xavier Cole. And we just want you to know how we do this particular session. You have already entered into the process of Jesuit education. Father Lane delivered his sermon this morning, first thing. Father Meraki and Dean Alona McGinnis gave you instruction about Jesuit education and what's behind it and its history and what to look forward to. You all endured your first pop quiz. That is, how well do you know your sons and daughters? And now we're entering into more of a reflective experience of the Jesuit education. That is an opportunity for you to reflect on where you and your family have been and where you're going. When we teach students, we like to use experiences that they know about in trying to help them to learn new content. So the experience that we know that you already know about is the emotional roller coaster of adolescence, that having high school students, you know that that's a time of continual, ongoing ups and downs of emotions. You know that at times it can turn you and your whole family into an emotional roller coaster. That there are many twists and turns along the way, that sometimes everything can just be upside down. Sometimes you're at sudden stops, deep inclines, but also sometimes you find yourself back at the beginning doing things over and over again. Does any of this sound like adolescence to you? The other thing about this session, in addition to making it reflective, is we also make it interactive. That means there will be opportunity for you to engage a little bit, particularly as we move into Mr. Cole's presentation. And we want it to be fun as well. We think that learning can be fun as well. So this metaphor that we use of the emotional roller coaster, as I said, adolescence is an emotional time, and a lot of it has to do with the ongoing development of the brain of young people. And they're trying to manage a lot as they're growing and developing. Their physiology has a lot to do with their emotions. And oftentimes families, both the student and the parents, are looking forward to that next phase when they get to go away from home, for those of you who are not having commuters who are coming to Loyola. But that going away from home can't be an abrupt process, so we invite you to consider how you might ease them and yourselves into this process as you come into the summer months, as you come into the time in preparation for them being here. In addition to it being an emotional time for everyone, it's also an exciting time. You know, Father Meraki congratulated the students for graduating from high school. We want to congratulate you because we know it takes as much work for parents and families in helping young people to navigate all of their school years to reach this point. And you've invested in them heavily to get them to this point where they are ready to come away, to learn in a social, academic, spiritual setting with other students, with other adults who are involved in helping to get them to that next phase. And that next phase has to do with the development they go through. As we think of the roller coaster, I think of the tracks as consisting of the tasks of being, becoming, and belonging. And your jobs and our jobs together are to help them to figure out the healthiest ways to do this. The being, who am I? They're leaving home, they're leaving high school, they knew who they were then. Their first reaction is going to be, who am I now? And so it's important to help ground them this summer on who you know them to be, who they know themselves to be. That the I am as a first year, first day, first week, first year student in college is the same I am that they've worked so hard to develop. That belonging. We want to help them to figure out how to negotiate not just fitting in, but belonging means taking that I am and how do I contribute to the community here? How do I become a leader in that belonging and how I belong here? And that becoming is what they will be doing over the course of the next 4 years, continually growing and developing in who they will become as young adults. And that young adult piece gets to be tricky because culturally and socially the research shows that adolescence now extends into the late 20s and sometimes early 30s, and sometimes students return home after graduating from college. And we want to work together so that your sons and daughters, your students, aren't returning home after their time at Loyola. So that means we all have our work cut out to do to help them to grow and develop in that teen, adolescent, to becoming young adults. So when you think about the rites of passage of the roller coaster ride, reflect on when your student was a toddler, when you were anticipating taking them to the amusement park. When are they going to be ready for that roller coaster ride? You didn't do it immediately. You thought about who they were. What's his or her temperament? Is he or she a risk taker? Are they able to be apart from me? They have to be a certain size for sure, just to fit into the car. But I would imagine that each of you rode in that car with them for the first ride they took, because you wanted to be there to protect them, to keep them safe, but you also wanted to be involved in the joy of that particular ride. And so we invite you to do a similar process as you're sending them forward for this ride of their first semester. What are their temperaments? What were they like in high school? What were their strengths? What were their limitations? What have they outgrown? Who is surrounding them? What's going on in their high schools? Because those students or students like them will be here with them. What will it take to ready them for the experience of living away from home, applying themselves academically, and really being able to enjoy what they have come here to do and what you've sent them to do? The final piece about the roller coaster ride metaphor that works for us, it's not something you do alone. You know, you don't see pictures of one car on the roller coaster with one person sitting in it or two people sitting in it. It's a group effort, and if you look around you, you're all in this together. And it's important that you get to know one another, and so that you can be in contact and you can share the experience together. The joys of it for sure, but also those deep inclines. And what we're learning more and more is if we stay engaged with our students, we can prevent a lot of those deep inclines by responding early, as Father Lenny mentioned this morning, responding early to what we know are going to be some of the hiccups for them in that process. And in addition to having each other and having the family members of the roommates that your sons or daughters have, or peers in classrooms, you also have the adults here. You have a wonderful faculty. If I may say so myself, you have wonderful student development professionals. And we have all committed, this is our vocational call, to work with 18 to 22-year-olds, to work with them and to developing them and helping them grow and develop into the responsible, Next, society. This is the group that's going to take care of us in our futures. So now we invest together in helping them to become wise decision makers, helping them to think of others, helping them to learn how to create and live together in community. So we want you to enter in, not just during this presentation, but for the remainder of your time here. Enter in and think about who your student is today. What are the conversations and activities you need to do with them during the summer to help make this a smooth transition for them and for you? And we just want to welcome you into the Loyola University Maryland family. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Cole.
Thank you, Dr. Cook. How are y'all doing? Still okay? This morning I asked an early group a question. They just kind of looked back at me like this. I was a little frightened then. Welcome to the university. Well, we're going to try to have a little fun this morning, or this afternoon with this. So, do you like roller coasters? Yeah? Anybody get a little queasy on a roller coaster? Yeah, that would be me. You know, so the first semester is like a roller coaster ride for the parents and the students. There you go. So this session is going to explore the developmental changes of the first year for your university students now, particularly with the influences. And again, we want us to have this be a conversation when we start talking together about this and having a little fun with it. So, how many are sending your students to university, college for the first time? Wow. This is why you're here. Is there anybody in the room to send someone to college? All right, you're responsible for the rest of it. Because I can't handle that. My God. And so, for those who sent students, did you notice anything change in the first year, particularly that first semester, like by Thanksgiving? Like when they came home? Anybody want to share a little about what they noticed in the change in their child? Yes, ma'am. You're saying that your child was sloppier after college and before you... I don't believe you, but I'll take it. We call those changes in student developmental factors, but I'm sure that's not what you called it when you saw some of the changes with your children. We're trying to be academic about it. We know that your students are developing a sense of confidence first and foremost, in particular, academic confidence. We know that your students are the cream of the crop, not just on the East Coast, but now geographically throughout the country, recruiting a wide, wonderful group of students. And we know that the average GPA for your students in high school is a 3.5, average. You could have some a little lower and definitely have some a little higher coming into this university. So, after the first semester at university here at Loyola, what do you think their GPA is? Any guesses? 3.0, very good. It is 3.0, but that's not a 3.5, all right? So what do you think's happening? Want to take a guess? Freedom, what else? Academic competition, all other types of competition. They physically fight just for food. What else? Anything? Priorities? Lots of adjustments. So much time, so many changes. But one of the first academically is they're competing against other best and brightest for the 8th grade. Now, can everybody get an A? Likely not. No, I'm joking. No, I'm serious. It usually doesn't work out that way. But it's usually because it's the effort that's involved. It's the effort that's involved. There's some things that have to change for your students. Sure, they can make an A, but will they put in the work to do it? So the biggest question is, will they make it at Loyola? And outside of a little bit of academic competition, many of your students really need to learn how to study for the first time. So being the best and brightest, studying is not something you really had to do a lot of, or be very structured about how they took that in. So may need to develop it. How do you do the corner on this thing? Mr. Osborne, may I be excused? My brain is full That's your kid there with his hand up and with the small peanut head. This is how many students feel for the first time. I'm having a little trouble with this thing, but we're going to get it going here. For the first couple of syllabi that they get from their professors will send a very good signal for them. It's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8 pages. It's going to have all the expectations. It's going to have all the assignments already laid out for the semester. And your students are then expected to prepare for that semester. Will your student get the message about this? Now, what are the habits of study now? Do you have the attractive kid who smiles at the professor, has a great relationship, and can get that A, usually? Yeah, is that your kid? Or do you have the kid who's really been working and struggled a little bit? Which one is yours? And you know then what they'll need to do to kind of do well. More than likely, now at university, they'll have to read a whole book instead of skimming a book or a chapter just to get an A. And your student will have to become known by someone, and not in bad and notorious ways. They will need to be known in the offices. Many of your students have been at the same high school, same junior high, same middle school for many years. They have been known. Now they need to become known by asking questions, finding mentoring. This is not what to work today. So, academic resources, we have tutoring at the study. It's in Jenkins Hall on the upper floor. And what's interesting, how many of your students have been tutors for other students? A lot, right? And so think about that same student needing to ask for a tutor. How likely is that? Very likely? I hope so. And it's actually easy. They can do it online now. It's lots of ways to do it. There are workshops on time management at the study. They can actually work on their note-taking, their time management, and they can also work on their writing skills, turning in papers. And finding a mentor early on is key. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. How many of your students have ever made a grade below a C? Wow. You know, you're in single company or so now. At the midterm, you can have lots of friends. And this is a scary thing, because if you have a child that's been high achieving, they've never made a C or below before, no, because they don't possibly have those study skills and aren't thinking that way, and they need to test the university grading system, you may have a C coming. So what do you do when you get that first call? Oh my God, I had a paper that was fantastic. I started the night before like I normally do. And I turned it in to the professor and I told him who I was. My name was on the front. I had a little star on the paper. And it came back all marked up, bloody red. And I don't think I can make it there. I just, they want to come home right away to you. And you laugh now. You'll be calling this around and figure out, how do I keep my kid at the university? I've already paid tuition. You need to remind them about the resources that you know are here, and there will be an activities fair that has all this information about the study and other things. Remind them of the help that's on campus and the people. Remind them to get to know their professors. They did this in high school, but it's a little bit more intimidating for them when they come here, but the faculty really do want to know them. You heard Father talk about this in the office hours. So have them go see their faculty in their offices. These PhDs in class, we don't have TAs here. We have the faculty that are all teaching your students. And this is what you're generally paying for in my meager salary. Your student will be in class an average of 15 hours per week. Okay, you math people are going to help me. All right, most professors expect 3 hours of prep time for every hour in class. All right, so we're up to 45 hours, right? So how many hours are left in the week? That's what I said. I have no idea, but I know it's a lot, right? So what are your students doing with that time now? How are they spending that time? Anybody? Fantastic. Sleeping. Are they dreaming about how they're going to do the work? Will it magically be done when they wake up? What else are they doing? Is anyone working or structuring their time? Sports, Are they going to do all the things in high school that was structuring their time out of class here? Some of them. But most of them are a little worried about, like, okay, how am I going to do? And so they need to provide their own structure. They need to think about the type of engagement they have. And they really do need to think about that whole 3-to-1 ratio of studying in class. That 45 hours is what? A full-time job. This is what this is for them. And they really should think of it that way. Many students don't. And you can still harass them about that, even phone, text, whatever, all these other social media ways that I don't really know, I can't keep up. We know that your students are trying to develop a sense of social competence. That's the second big question. Will I fit in at this university? So, interesting question. How many students have had their own room at home? No roommate. You all are a walking nightmare. How many are going to have their own room here? That's right. Winner. Chicken dinner. Everybody has a roommate. At least one for a large group of first-year students. You can have 3 roommates, or 4 roommates, or 5 roommates as we get up in years. And I think we still may, student life may correct me, but we still may have a 4-bedroom apartment on campus that houses 8 18 to 22-year-olds at one time on one roof with no supervision in that room. Yeah, we thought it was a good idea when we decided. Not so much. So, if we have parents who have had no roommate experience at home with their kids, how do you prepare them for this? All right, who's prepared them? How'd you do it? Did you send them down the street to the neighbor lady for like 6 months? No, they're completely unprepared. And this is a critical part of their experience. It's the hugest adjustment. One of the hugest adjustments outside of academics is how they live with someone else. Communal living positively. And it is frightening. And there's a huge difference between dealing with a sibling and dealing with a kid from Jersey. Alright? So if your kid now, when they're upset and something's gone wrong, how do they react with their sibling? They hit them. We'll get back to that. What else? What? How? Go get mom. How likely is that? Mom's not here. Kind of like that old Dave's not here teaching something. Too old, okay. So if their way of dealing with the problem now is to strike the person that they are disagreeing with, how likely do you feel that they will be here beyond that moment of the striking? There will be a fine and fair judicial process. There will be an appeal. And at the end of that, it is very likely that your son will be coming home to you. And then you have the lovely experience of explaining, how did that happen? Yes, he's taking a little time. Yes, we have a code of conduct, and striking is not part of it. So, talking to them about how do they manage this? Interesting. All right. So, hey, Dirk, new roommate, friend, Dirk, friend. Everybody giggles, right? Because everyone thinks that the kid with the like the warden, that's their kid. But who is claiming Dirk up there eating the pillow? We have Dirk every year, and no one identifies them on the way in. But you know who they are. It would be nice if you told us. We promise we won't do anything to Dirk. There are keys to success here. The 3 C's of success generally, very basic. All right, civility, that's the first thing, so no striking. How about a conversation, communication with the person, even though let them know that there's something wrong. Your children, God bless you, in this generation, because I don't know how they deal with technology, they think they could look at someone and telepathically, they will know, because they think it's their mother, that they know exactly what is wrong, what they've done wrong, and how someone else should be able to fix it for them. And so if that doesn't happen, then they strike. And it's a problem. So the communication and then the compromise, working through the issue. And we know they haven't had a lot of experience with this, so we have a wonderful student life staff, fantastic. Master's degree people work with this population all the time that helps them with these compromises on the everyday. And let me tell you, it's a full-time job with roommate conflicts between your babies. Fantastic. I haven't even talked about the cleaning yet. That's the surprise scene. All right, so how many of your kids actually wash their own clothes? A smattering. Very, very good. All right, with detergent. It's a good question. How many clean a bathroom? Even fewer. And you've seen these apartments you're staying in, right? They have kitchens, they have bathrooms that require cleaning. We do not have maid service. The maid is them. And that is a hard thing to think about. So they have 3 other roommates, and when things get messy, they look at everybody else or mom who is at home to come and clean. And I beg you, moms, do not come down and clean. You know, and we go in 3 times a year, just a safety, security, health department check. There's a snort down here. I'm not joking. And they know we're coming, and they know we'll be strict with them, so they clean up for that at least 1 or 2 times a semester. But I'm telling you, it is a constant battle. And that's one of the biggest things that we face about that, and deciding who cleans what. So, your kids also have kitchens, so they make a fantastic dinner, and everyone's fine, full, fantastic, everybody goes to sleep. Leaves that pot of spaghetti out there, right? And then after day 3, whoever cooked, they're like, well, I'm not cleaning because I cooked. The other person, well, I put the dishes down. And then the other person, well, I ate. And nobody cleans the pot. By day 12, it's going to be like a gladiator match to figure out who cleans it. But it has to be cleaned, right? Same thing with, I won't even talk about the bathroom. I'm not going to freak y'all out. But it freaks me out. And that's something that needs to happen. Some of the pitfalls that we have around this, but student life is great. We're working with your students. And they have a wonderful roommate agreement that they can try to work up together with each other to agree on the front end. It is having them hold to that is the difficult thing. So it is talking about being a responsible adult about their new living space and the people they're living with and being able to compromise. It can be tremendously important. The other thing that happens is that your students coming in, they are already telegraphing a roommate choice. Usually someone that they went to school with. All right, and so since they know them from high school, and I know you don't even have to raise your hand, I know it's like half of you in here. All right, they went to high school with them, so they think they'll be a perfect person for me to live with. Did they actually live with them in high school? No. If you ask them 5 questions and figure out what they do know about the person, what do they know? Very little. And so they show up here with a telegraph roommate choice that they basically wounded themselves with, and then they're upset about that. That is one pitfall, so don't let that happen. Our student life process is great. It's done numerically. It's done like by a computer that is much smarter than your kid who doesn't know the kid down the street. All right? And then they have all this inexperience living with others that we talked about. So, again, great staff. The assistant directors, the RAs that are students like them, so God bless them. They're like the evergreens. Please give them a break. You know, they're their peers trying to work with their peers and managing their lives. And so, just have them say, be respectful to your RA. Like as a mantra, as they go to sleep on the tape. You know, to treat them well. And the graduate students, you know, it's a great resource. Other piece is making new friends. We know that it's hard for your kids to find a peer group. Many of them have been going to school with the same kids for many years. It's going to be the first time they're going to have to find friends on their own. And leaving these long-term friendships behind. So that pressure to find a new friend can have your kid, who usually makes good decisions, make not so good decisions. All right, so that is your kid in the middle, okay? And so around them are 3 folks who have clearly drank from the vial that has something coming out of it. And the hands on them assuring them, and your kid's thinking about it. They're thinking about it. So what are they thinking about? Are they thinking about what decision they could make? And I know what you're thinking about. You're thinking about what could be in that vial, right? That could be alcohol, that could be drugs, that could be anything. So what you can be assured of is that you have given your kids, because they've gotten this far. They're not dummies, we've already established that, right? They're prepared to be here, but they need to lean on those good decisions, those good values that you've instilled and spent lots of time instilling in them all these years, right? They need to lean on those decisions, and they need to discern. We have this thing that we talk about saying discernment. to take some time and reflect critically on the decisions they make before they make them. And then they can live with those decisions, good or bad. You know, if they make rash ones, they make quick ones, the ones that try to fit into a group, that's where we start to go wrong. All right, so having your students make good decisions, and that's by meeting a good peer group. You know, we have lots of opportunities to get involved with first-year programs, pre-first-year programs, what do they call it, like the pre-fall programs. We talked about a little bit earlier, campus ministry, community service, with multicultural awareness program. There's several others that your students can engage in, and the one with outdoor experience with the rec center. They can engage in things with people who have like interests, and they're doing positive things. Because there are students, some students here do make wrong choices, and we don't want them to fall in with those. So they can start by getting a group, and you'll see more about that on day 2 of the activities fair. So before you guys get back on the road, definitely go by the activities fair and check out ways for your students to get involved. And then talk about them, helping them choose wisely and balancing. And we know that they want to do well academically, and we know that they can, but they also need to do something else. So if you only have them just studying and studying and studying, they're going to get the job done, but they're going to be completely freaked out. And we don't want that either.